Okay, let's just start moving. Yeah, so we're moving within the field of gravity, so there's a constant streaming down. So gravity's the constant. Like in, when you're meditating, the constant is the breath. So in Tai Chi, the constant is the sinking. We don't worry too much about the breath. So gravity is compressing you against the earth. So it feels oppressive, it feels depressive, depressive and oppressive. And it is, but it's necessary in order to stimulate something inside the body to fight back. Yeah? So as I'm being pressed into this leg, there's a sense of that something in the leg is expanding to stop itself from being crushed. And it's that we're sort of looking for. That's what makes the fabric elastic or rubbery. So as I sink into it, something expands, and it's the recoil against gravity that actually moves you. And that's an aspect of just your own fabric and your spirit. So it's just like a rubber ball. If you press the ball, it springs back. Dr. Chi was always at pains to stress that softness can always return the energy. If it can't, then that softness is just a weakness, a collapse. So my leg gets compressed and something in the leg just protests and fights back. That's it. So you bounce back, and so let's try. Just delay the movement, yeah? So I sink into the leg is bouncing me back, but I don't let it move. And then that just becomes the cross energy that ventures into the other side of the body. And So it's like a liquid that's flowing through the body. And that's by virtue of the fact that I'm just keeping my movements lagging. So I'm sinking into the leg, and the leg is trying to do this, but I'm not letting it, so it sort of ripples down and just takes the arm, because the arm is lighter than my body. So I'm sinking and whoo. Yeah, so there's a sense that something in your mind is still flowing this way with the compression of the spring, but the energy is flowing this way. So let it go, and then your body slowly just catches up. Yeah, so you're just exhibiting the trace of energy in the body before the body actually moves with it. Yeah, just feel the energy is rising all the way up from the foot. It doesn't just start here and come into the, it's coming through. Yeah, so something is desperately trying to do this, straighten my leg, but I'm just not allowing it. So there's a real surge up the leg and across into the opposite arm. So up the spine, across the shoulder, down the arm. So here, across the hip, sacrum, spine, shoulder, arm. So you have to really feel the channel. Okay, so now let's just go into riding horse proper. Yeah, so this is a meditation posture. And the main thing in meditation is just learning to quieten the mind so that your energy can just sink, yeah? And so what they found out in Qigong and meditation is that when the lower back, by that I mean the coccyx, the sacrum, and just the 2 or 3 vertebrae above, when that is flat and vertical, then your energy naturally sinks into the dantian. Yeah. And in order to throw energy up, in order to feed the busy mind, you have to somehow bring some curvature into the lower back. So you need to rear up a little bit, yeah? If only a tiny bit. Yeah? So as we're standing in riding horse, we're just trying to just let the coccyx on the end of the sacrum just be like a heavy little plum on the plumb line that's just pulling the lower back and the sacrum into a vertical. And then it just feels like all the activity that's normally going on here just gets sucked down. Yeah, so the natural place to be is the dantian. Okay, so there's two versions of riding horse, what I call the Qigong version and the Tai Chi version. Yeah, so Qigong is all about getting energy to circulate within your body, building up your energy. And Tai Chi is all about relating to another person. It's about connection because it's to do with fighting. And the one thing you need to be a good fighter is to know the other. Yeah. So in Qigong, they call it hugging a tree. So the spine just goes straight down into the ground. And you're very much like a tree and very much sort of hugging a tree. Yeah. And it's the same feeling of just the coccyx pulling. And that sort of, the stretch that's going on in the lower back is just reeling in your excess mental activity. And if you were just to go down with that, then you feel like a cylinder. Yeah, with your back is the back of the cylinder, and you've got this space here that's pretty much uniform all the way down. So you're dealing with your own energy and the energy within this ward-off space. It's like a big spiral that goes down. And the difficult part of the body is always really, how do the two parts of my body, my lower body and my upper body, how do they fit together? Yeah. And so what's interesting about hugging the tree, about the Qigong version of riding horse, is this sense here in the legs. Yeah. So as you're sinking down, there's also a sense that you're sort of receding. Your spine is trying to move in that direction. Not just the upper back like we've been working, but also here. This is sort of going back, squeezing back. It's opening up the sacrum. Yeah. Widening the sacrum. And there's a sense, if I turn with it, there's a sense that my legs come onto my sacrum like this. Rather than just coming up the shape of the legs, you see that my legs are coming out like that. There's a feeling of almost like the iliac crests become really dominant, and there's a sense of coming down onto the sacrum like this and actually squeezing back. So the further down I go, the bum actually starts sticking out and fanning round like this. Yeah. All the time keeping the lower back straightening and flattening. Yeah. So this is a tendency. In Tai Chi, we're always dealing with tendencies, and one tendency tends to counter and balance another tendency. Yeah. So my legs are coming up and attaching to my sacrum almost from on top. Yeah. And then you want the feeling that your little tailbone loosens up. So it's normally coiled up like this here. Yeah? And we just want it to sort of unravel and straighten and just become, it sort of waves around. Yeah? And so this holding of the legs just really allows the tail to really open out and sort of wave around, and I can sort of point at things with it. So now let's just see just the subtlest of tilts here, and your tail just points at your heel here. Yeah? And then you just tilt the other way and the tail points at this heel. Yeah. And so the root is really your tail going down into your foot rather than your weight going over the foot. Yeah? Because I could actually have my weight here and just turn the tail and point the tail down into this heel, and that's where my root is extending from. Yeah? So it doesn't really depend so much on your position and where your weight is as where your tail is pointing. So we just want to wake up the tail. So just a little point here, and then just a little point here. And it's not, because the tail, if you just think you've got a longer tail like this big, and it just whips around, and when it moves, it just takes the tiniest of adjustments here. It's more in the mind. If you can make a connection between your sacrum and the heel, then your tail will naturally just extend down that connected line. It doesn't go down the leg, it just makes a direct connection. Yeah? So I'm just ooh, and ooh. And just feel how, if I point my tail here, my head also wants to go there. So my spine sort of does this sort of curve. The head points in the same direction as your tail. So, and so it's difficult because you need to intend with the mind. You need to extend a line with your mind down from the sacrum to that heel and then here. So you're no longer just seeing things, you're creating connected lines. Yeah? So here, ooh, and the head wants to go over as well. And then here, ooh. And it wakes up a certain mobility in the lower parts here. And it's like an activity and a mobility that we only really encounter when we have sex, which is why people find it difficult. Yeah. And just, the more you can squeeze the tail down, the more the head rises up and rears over. So this is what we'd like. So the bottom of the spine is very much connected to the top of the spine. So if I have real interest in something, then that also needs to be there in the bottom of the spine. Otherwise, it's going to bring me out of equilibrium. Yeah. So something's going down and something's coming up. Okay, and now just back to the Qigong riding horse. So the cylinder, your whole body is embracing this cylinder, and this is just trying its best just to drop down. The tail is waving around a little bit, just waiting for a direction. Okay, so now so that is basically riding horse, yeah? So what makes it different in Tai Chi is it's not really something that I do, it's the demand that's put onto me by the other, yeah? So the other person is now standing there and there's something about that presence that is demanding that I no longer be into myself, that I actually take notice, yeah? And so there's something in me rises up in order to look them in the face, to give them, you know, that honor of actually confronting them, yeah? And again, with the sense of the tail stimulating the upper back and the head, when I lift up my face and I look into their face, then something happens here. This is what we are looking for. And what it is that my tail, which we've been whipping from foot to foot, has a sense of coming under and up their body. Yeah? So I'm connecting with them on this circuit. And it's not really something that I do, it's something that they call out of me. So it's difficult when you don't have another person there, so you really have to sort of just imagine it. And what it does to the posture, it just pulls your belly forwards a little bit and forces your upper back to recede a little bit. And the change in this area is really significant, yeah? So the feeling is that your lower back just really flattens and extends down into the thighs. And this is able to just drop down, you know, you really feel it's gone down like a centimetre within yourself. And so this is the thing, when you relate to the other person, your body is much more connected and happy than when you're just with yourself. Yeah? So when we're standing like this, we feel that this is extending and everything. But as soon as we connect with the other person, something here can just flow down the legs in a way that it wasn't before. Because somehow the connection I have with the other supports me. And when I have that external support, there's something inside me that is normally tense that can just relax. Yeah, so this real, and now the sense is not just that the lower back is becoming straight and flat, but that it's going forwards and it's part of a curve. It's part of a curve like that. Yeah. And what that does, it creates like a more of a cave here, which then enables not just the head to drop down, but also the heart. So the heart hollows. There's a real sense that what the fullness that was here, which is my own fullness, has just dropped down to here. And it's now empty and ready to receive the other. And again, we only really encounter this level of intimacy when we make love. Yeah? When you get that close to the other person that you're connected physically. Okay, and now let's just try. So staying within that posture if you can. I mean, it sort of goes in and out of the Qigong and the Tai Chi version. But the Tai Chi version of riding horse should really wake you up to this space that's beyond your ward off, just beyond your ward off. So if you're in pushing hands, so their hand is connecting here, then basically the other side of their hand. Yeah, so breathing out and breathing in. Yeah, so your body is expanding to suck the air in, and now it's contracting to squeeze the air out. And we just try and extend the breath. So just really relax, and here you're sucking air in. And then it has to come out. And just feel the heart. It's like the heart's going to burst at the end of that in-breath. Yeah, so it's like, ooh, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah, and you can just feel it as you reach into the world on your in-breath. it becomes more like the Tai Chi version with this rolling under, and then when you come in and squeeze that out and come more into yourself, then this tends to go back a little bit and you get more into the Qigong version. So you're sort of drifting in and out. They're both very important. So when you move around in Tai Chi, you tend to be more with the bum being slightly back. But then when you're connecting with the other at the beginning and at the end of the postures, so just imagine you're in water and your arms are weightless. They're just the tentacles of the octopus and they're stemming from the mid-back. So it almost feels like you're not really using your diaphragm. It's really just the arms and the chest that's just pulling the air in and out. And then let's get it more into the belly. So it's the same thing. And here, just make sure that your tail is still coming under. You don't want the bum to stick back here. It's your min meng that swells back, not your coccyx. So the coccyx, if anything, comes under more when you push back here. Breathing out, squeeze every little bit of air out. And then just let the arms suck it in. So you're rolling under and so you're with the breath, but you're with the breath as it's coming in and going out. Once it's gone out, you're not really that interested in it. So it's just really pulling it in, squeezing it out, and then here, sucking it in. So something is leaving my body, and then something is coming into my body, and my body's just changing volume to accommodate what's come in. So now I'm shrinking, and now I'm expanding to suck the air in. now let's just come back to riding horse. So feel the sacrum. Yeah, so that exercise, it sort of brings just this curve to the spine, so it's like a real simplicity. So we've lost the S shape of the spine. The spine now just extends straight down my legs and into the ground. My spine is no longer sitting upon my legs, it's going through my legs. And so this feels very much like the middle of the body, so when we first start putting the mind in the Dantian, it feels like the bottom. It feels like, because it's the bottom of the torso, which is what we're used to. We're used to thinking of the legs as being something other than our body. Our legs are just things to move us around. Whereas here, it just becomes one thing, and then this is very much the center, and you just want to be there because it's the obvious place to be. Okay, and now let's try the same exercise, but just looking at it differently. Yeah. So the version that we've just been doing, again, I would call, John hated Qigong because he said it was fundamentally selfish because it's all to do with you. Yeah. And whereas Tai Chi is always to do with the other. It was just how effectively can you accommodate the other. Yeah. And so the Qigong version of this is sort of just you're with the breath that's coming in, and but you're much more with your own body that's behaving like this bellows that is expanding and contracting. Yeah. Now the Tai Chi version, you're much more in Tai Chi. You want to be with the other, not just as someone that you're sort of confronting, but someone that you have slipped behind, so that when they attack you, you're with that attack as it's coming in towards you. So you haven't waited for that fist to get here and then just turn to get out of the way. Part of you is with that fist all the way from the other person's foot to where it actually comes out. You're with their intention, you're with their spirit. It's what John used to call yielding to their spirit. Yeah. I remember being in Hackney, where I lived on the Lower Clapton Road. There was a kebab shop, and I used to go there so often to get my hummus kebabs. I became quite friendly with the guys. I remember once there were two black guys in there just messing around, and they were just throwing punches at each other, not hitting, but just playing. And they're obviously boxers, because these fists were coming out so fast you could not see the arms. Yeah. And I remember saying to John the next day, how on earth would you yield to that sort of blow? He looked at me like I was an idiot, which I was so used to that look. And it was, you'd yield to their spirit. Yeah. So you'd yield to that part of them that was actually bringing that fist out before the fist came out. And to do that, you have to be with them. You can't just project and anticipate. Yeah? So your listening is not just, okay, they're saying something and that is reaching me. I'm with them as these impulses are coming into being. Yeah. So it's much more like the listening of a mother. Yeah. She's sitting down just reading a book or chatting with a friend, and the kids are playing over here. And she just knows when they're going to get into trouble or something. I see it in the playground when I practice, because I practice in the children's playground. So part of you is with the other. Yeah. And it is very much almost like a subliminal, semi-conscious part. If you're too much with it, it won't happen. That pressure of your intent will stunt the thing before it even starts. Yeah. Okay, so now we treat the breath in the same way. Yeah. So as I breathe in now, I want this sense that I'm with the air that's coming, yeah, rather than with my own body that's behaving like a bellows. So as I breathe in, I'm bringing this air in. And then when I breathe out, I'm with the air that's going out, yeah. So my hands just end up doing the opposite, basically. They come in on the in-breath and they go out on the out-breath, because I'm with the air. I'm with the chi, I'm with the atmosphere. So I breathe in, the air is sucking down into my lungs, and then I breathe out and I send that out. And now the phase of opening up the arms is the out-breath, and that's the one that you can extend indefinitely. So I just breathe out, 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 and then it comes back in. So this would be what, the martial artists would tend to use this version. Yeah, because the letting the energy out, the letting the air out phase is the relaxation phase, and so that can really be strong. So this is like building up the pressure, and then this is releasing the pressure. So it's dealing more with a pressure differential rather than a volume one. So you're breathing the world in, and then you're letting out your energy. Yeah, and the interesting thing about this one is that, when you just do it for an extended period, then it becomes clear that the place you're breathing into is not your dantian, it's your heart. Yeah? So as you bring the world in, you bring it into your heart. Yeah? And then there's a sense that it drops down and just emanates out like a shock field that's just sort of rippling out from you. Yeah, so you're much more with the out-breath, if you like, with what you are actually giving to the world than you are with the in-breath, which is what you're receiving or taking from the world. So here you just try and let everything out. And then the in-breath will take care of itself. So it's just the opposite of the other way. You know, the other way we were attending to the in-breath and the out-breath took care of itself. Now we just breathe out, everything goes out, I completely deflate, and then I have to suck something in. Yeah, it's a nice one to practice when you're walking. You know, just as you breathe in, just bring the world you're passing through into the heart, and as you breathe out, just send a wave of energy out from yourself. So just feel the heart. So John called it the jewel in the heart. Yeah, so it's like as you bring the world in, there's an element of it that crystallizes in the heart. So it's a real refining, you're really refining the energy of the heart. Yeah, so it's like, you know, it's compassion really. So it's like, you know, when your main thing is giving compassionately, then something in you has to become very focused, pure, and still. Otherwise you just get drained. Yeah? So the jewel in the heart is like the little anchor to my compassion. It enables me to just let everything go with no fear of overdoing it. Because the more you let go, the finer this becomes. So this is like pure extension, pure release. And then this is like pure condensation, you know, crystallization, pure coming together and holding together. So to start with, it just makes you feel really sort of feeble and weak, like you've just let everything out. But like all these things, if it makes you sort of feel weak on the short term, then you can guarantee that if you practice it, then on the long term, it will make you really strong. Okay, and now let's just bring it back. So let's get like the Qigong one where you just sort of, just the spine that's just really vertical, the spine that's relating to the earth and the heavens, yeah? The other person hasn't appeared yet. Yeah, so these sort of humps here, they sort of go behind as well. So there's a sense of throwing something around here. So, you know, when we do this, yeah, so let's just try a little bit. So just here. So this feeling that something has come around from the back of your hip. And again, it's from that release in the sacroiliac as you turn. So, yeah. So there's a sense of something coming out here, but also back a little bit before it comes round, yeah? So, so like the wings of the legs, yeah, some sort of structure that's behind you coming out of your back. And then let's try the other side. So, it's like a big meaty thing, like a tail, like the tail of the dinosaur, and you whip it round. So, and now let's just bring it back. So just feel that you've got this sort of mass behind you, the back, the shoulders as well. Yeah, so that was like part of the, you know what, the dragon body that John was getting into. It's a bit like the devil. All these hunky pieces of muscle and flesh. It's like that. There's that picture of Blake, the back of the devil. Yeah, I'll send it. It's beautiful. That's it. So you're really muscular and just muscle bound, like one of those bodybuilders. Yeah. And you can see that the connection you make with the ground is more like an animal, you know, so it tends to bring this back and you want to go onto all fours and start howling. So it's like sort of, and then within that, yeah, so that's, if you like, that's like your disguise, yeah? That's like a costume that you can wear. But then within that, as soon as the other appears, you just respond to their divinity, if you like, to their angelic aspect. And this just comes forward and you think, oh, fuck, yeah. And you just forget self and you just become the angel, you know, you just become this completely opposite thing that is contained within the devil aspect, yeah. And that's like the Tai Chi version of this, you circuiting. Now you're just so blinded by their light, you shrivel, you just forget everything about yourself. But you're borrowing energy. Yeah, this is, you know, it's so important, borrowing energy, you know, because it's like when you're on your own, the only thing you can guarantee is that you'll get everything wrong. Yeah? So you need the other, not just as someone to interact with, yeah, but as an image of purity and perfection that you aspire to, that they are an aspiration. Yeah. And then something in you can just relax because it's there before you. Yeah. And I can just allow that to just take over. That is now my God, you know, my teacher, my guru, whatever. And I just, you just allow yourself to resonate with it, yeah. And then that's much more of the jewel in the heart, yeah. And of course, they then, you know, it's all reciprocated, you know, because they have the same relationship to you as you have to them. So we're slipping in and out of these two creatures, if you like, the angel and the dragon, as we do our Tai Chi. Yeah. Yeah, Blake was the best. I mean, if you just look at his pictures, yeah, because he saw it, yeah, he didn't just imagine it. Yeah, so this sort of like the Tai Chi connection, this angelic connection, it's just so important because otherwise you're just consuming all the time. You're seeing the other as something that you can consume. Yeah. Whereas here it's something that you worship, if you like, something that you put on a pedestal, yeah? Something that you lift up. So you breathe them into your heart, and then you just, whoa. You just send out these waves of energy. And what stops this from becoming too sort of solemn and reverential, too static, if you like, is the activity in the tail. Yeah? So you slip in and out of these two aspects through the tail. Yeah? It's the tail that takes you into the dragon body and then brings you out into the other. So it's when you bring the tail up the other, that's when you become the angel, if you like. And it's when the tail starts whipping out behind you and around, you know, like the devil. You know, that's when you become this hungry animal. And they're both completely important. Can't have one without the other. Okay, so let's leave it there. Let's just bring it back to somewhere reasonable. Okay, great.